is always in style. And as you know, on KXEX 1550 AM, we're heard Saturdays at 4, Sundays at 6. We talk politics, education, religion, technology, sports, values, healthy communities, you name it. If it's something you want to hear about, we're going to talk about it here. You can also catch Good News with Larry Powell 5 days a week. Nothing but good news stories, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. and at 4 p.m. Also, you can catch us on your terms at Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, you name it, we've got it located there. I'll tell you what, folks, it's just crazy right now what we're going through in the world. And we hear a lot about praying for Ukraine. I've been talking to a lot of Russian friends of mine who say that the Russian people aren't necessarily really behind all the stuff that's going on that Putin's doing over there. We need to be praying for the Russian folks as well, and that God would do something special to knock this whole thing out and just change the war, bring peace to the land. We've been talking to a lot of missionaries, which has been really unique. And a number of folks from the Ukraine actually work at Fresno Pacific University, where I'm on the board of trustees there. So we've got some inside information on what's going on, but a lot of good things. Convoy of Hope is doing some amazing work in Poland, providing resources for 2 million refugees who are leaving the area. So we're living in a crazy time, but you know what? We've got some really good things taking place right here in Fresno, and one of them is one of my very good friends. Connie Clendenon is in the house.
Hi, good
Connie,
news.
Hey,
Larry.
It's nice to have you here.
Yes,
I'll tell you
I
what,
love it.
we've known each other for a long, long time.
Yes.
And you've been involved in so many things. We're going to talk about everything from foster kids to Valley Teen Ranch to playing the trumpet to just about everything you can imagine. And you've also written a book, Choices. We're going to hear a little more about that, folks. So this is something you want to hang around for. Connie, welcome. It's
Thank
nice
you.
to have you here.
Thanks for getting me up early this morning.
Isn't it fun to be retired?
Yes, love it.
I'm calling it refired, not retired, because you do so many things. Life doesn't stop after we stop working in our traditional jobs.
No, then I get my life back.
Yes, you do. Exactly. Well, I don't know if the folks know a lot about your history or things, but where did you grow up?
I grew up in rural Michigan in the Thumb area. You know how the state of Michigan is shaped like a mitten, and so
You're the thumb.
Smitten by the mitten, as we say, north of Detroit and east of Flint.
Okay.
On a farm with my mom and dad and 3 siblings and aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents. We all kind of lived there and worshiped there and worked in the fields and milked the cows and,
You had the farm life.
I had the farm life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Learned how to work.
Yeah. Boy, isn't that the truth? My dad, his father, my grandfather had 20 acres of grapes. And so I learned that wasps live in grapes.
Oh, yes.
I learned a lot about hard work, and I learned I wanted to go to college.
Yes, me too. I didn't want to marry a farmer, didn't want to be a farmer, didn't want to hang out with the cows.
What they do is fantastic, but I'm glad when somebody else is doing it.
Ditto.
So what got you to California?
Buford Carricker, who was a peer with my father in Youth for Christ.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because he was the leader of Youth for Christ when I was in high school.
Right. Yeah. And my dad was the leader of Youth for Christ in the Thumb area, but he expanded over to the whole state and the whole 4 regions, Great Lakes region.
Yeah.
And was on the Youth for Christ USA board.
Okay.
As was Buford. So they connected. Then my mom and Roberta connected. And then there was a Youth for Christ convention out here in San Diego. And so my dad arranged the few vacations that we had were connected to work.
Yes.
So we piled in a 9-passenger station wagon that a board member owned, and all of us headed out to California.
So Michigan to San Diego.
Yes, and then we spent time with the Carrickers
when
we were all kids, and we bonded for life.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I graduated from college, got my bachelor's degree.
Where'd you go to college?
Spring Arbor University in Michigan.
Yeah.
And wanted to be a social worker, so I majored in psychology, minored in music. Didn't want to be a band director or a concert trumpet player, although my band director thought that would be a perfect idea for me.
I love it.
Anyhow, then I got credentialed in Youth for Christ and came home and worked for my dad.
Yeah.
with Youth for Christ and Teen Ranch, which he started and founded in
Wow.
Michigan when I was a kid.
I didn't even know that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So we're a replica of it. Buf wanted Teen Ranch to come to California.
Which, folks, here it's Valley Teen Ranch.
Right.
And we'll talk more about that. But
yeah. So I came here because Buf needed, at the time, a music director at Northwest.
Okay, Northwest Church.
Yep.
Yep.
So he called my dad first, and then he called me, and would you be interested in coming to talk to us about this job? Oh, I said, goodbye snowbanks and hello palm trees. That didn't take very long at all because I never liked the snow.
I love it. I love it.
So that was 42 years ago.
Wow.
And I've been here, and I went back to school and got my master's in social work, and Teen Ranch opened up.
Yeah.
And so
That's amazing. Well, I had an interview with Buf as well. I think I may have mentioned to the listeners at one time, but he was opening a counseling center.
Uh-huh.
And he called me. I was teaching at Sanger High School at the time, and he said, Larry, I want to get together for lunch, and maybe you'd like to be, the director of our counseling center that I'm talking about. Halfway through the lunch, he said, Larry, I think you just came for lunch. So,
oh, no.
I think he was right, because I was interested in hearing, but I was a lifelong educator, and I don't know that anything could have blown me out of that. So, but Buf was a bigger than life character.
Absolutely.
Character.
Literally and figuratively.
Yes. And, when he asks you to do something, it was something that he had thought about a lot of things in advance and knew exactly where he was wanting to go with something. And, and he and G.L. Johnson, the pastor at People's Church, were two absolutely amazing people in town that did a lot of things together to break down a lot of barriers between churches.
Yes.
And to make sure that both Northwest, People's Church, and a variety of other churches were doing things for the community that were absolutely spectacular and bringing peace at some tough times, here. So you came into a good situation.
I did. And the people here and the climate here and the jobs and the food and the diversity. I mean, it was a natural fit for me.
That was amazing, wasn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. Well, tell us a little bit about, so you got to California, you're working with Buf at Northwest Church. Was that your full-time job, or were you doing social work? So you were doing that full-time.
Yes.
Okay. What got you then from there to social work and some of the things you ended up doing?
Well, it was always my goal to get my master's degree in social work. I wanted to go to U of M, go blue. But after I graduated from my bachelor's degree, everybody wanted to be a social worker in the early 70s.
Yeah.
So the school was impacted.
Okay.
And actually, I was a little confused. Was it social life or was it social work? So, I mean, I was a good B student.
Yeah.
But, when it's impacted, you got to be at the top.
No,
so
absolutely.
Anyhow, it all worked out because I got my master's here at Fresno State.
Okay. We're both Bulldogs.
Yeah, Bulldogs. And after a variety of jobs that I had after Northwest, but I still was a part of Northwest and still a part of music and all that good stuff until Buf passed away.
Yep.
So anyhow, then I got my master's in social work, and then I wanted to be a dean of students.
Oh.
So I got a job at Fresno State in the dorms.
Okay.
I was the social life coordinator.
Yes.
Perfect.
Oh, I love it. That does fit you.
And coming from a nonprofit world of church and Youth for Christ and all that, they said, okay, here's this budget, and you need to spend this budget. And, get a new computer, get a new printer, get whatever you need.
Yeah.
I go, my computer's fine. There's nothing wrong with my computer. Well, we need to do it, because if we don't spend it, we lose it at that time.
Yeah, I hear you.
So that was a shock. So a lot of nonprofits that I was connected to, primarily Youth for Christ, got a lot of good stuff because I had to get rid of it. I said, can I give it to somebody who wants it and needs it? Yes. Okay. So that was good. And I loved that job. It was great. And still friends with a lot of the resident advisors and the students that were a part of things there, and the athletes, because they all lived in the dorms too. And then that came to an end, but about that time, Teen Ranch was getting started. David Purvis is the founder of Teen Ranch, and they'd gotten the land, and they'd gotten the first house built, and they opened it up, and David thought it was time to get a fundraiser. So I had done grant writing, public relations, and event planning and fundraising for my dad with Youth for Christ and Teen Ranch before I moved out here. And of course, my heart was Teen Ranch. That was no problem.
Yeah.
I understood it. I'm a social worker. I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
So he hired me, and it was great. Loved it. And, you know, all of us have different gifts.
Yes.
So not everybody has the gift of asking people for money
No.
or things, which, okay.
Yep.
But I never looked at it as asking money for me.
Right.
And that's usually what the problem is. So it was to help the program and help the kids and tell the stories and all of that. So that was a really good fit. And then David resigned about a year after I had been there. And the board thought, well, you have your MSW, you love Teen Ranch, you're doing great, you love the staff, the kids. I think you'd be great for the director.
Oh,
and
hold that thought. We're going to come back to that. That's a perfect segue. Listen, folks, you've been listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. And we're with Connie Clendenon of Valley Teen Ranch, now retired, but we're going to talk more about that whole adventure with Valley Teen Ranch when we get back. Thank you for being with us today.
You're listening to Powell to the People. Write it down.
Yep. Facebook folks, thanks so much for being with us today. Hit that share button because people need to know Connie Clendenon, and they need to know the work that she's done over the years. She's been a Californian transplanted from Michigan. And did you know there are more Michiganders in California than any other place in the world except Michigan? little tidbit there. Okay, we're heading back.
People on the best talk in town.
Welcome back. I just love that song by Mark Lowry. Some things never change, and sometimes we go, oh, some things never change. Well, it's actually God's love and faithfulness that never changes, and we're so glad about that. We're talking to Connie Clendenon today, and we were just talking about David retired, left Valley Teen Ranch, or was it called Teen Ranch at the time?
No.
Or Valley Teen Ranch?
Always Valley.
Valley Teen Ranch. And so you're on staff there. You got your master's degree, and it's a natural fit. You've got this whole connection from Michigan all the way to here. So you become the director. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I said no first.
I love it.
I mean, this was the second time I said no to a man about a job that I didn't think I should do because I was a woman. I didn't want to be a band director. I didn't want to be a trumpet, on the stage with that, although I still play the trumpet and I like it.
Yes, and you're very good at it.
Thank you. So I just thought it's a ranch for boys. It's about farming and animals and things boys
I remember the
do.
farm story. We don't want to do that.
Yes. So I thought, you know what? This would be better for a man to do this job. So you keep looking for a man, and I'll run it till you get that. 30 years later.
Wow.
So it was God's plan.
Yeah.
Obviously. And I am very thankful and blessed and they're still there. And I had a great staff and worked well in the community. And I still did the fundraising too. So I had, at the beginning, I had about 7 jobs because there was no HR.
Wow.
It was just me hiring and getting the people and doing the paperwork and working with the state and our license. And there's a state association in here for group home and foster care and adoption agencies, and I was always a part of that. They taught me a lot about the business side of it, and I taught them a lot about the faith side of it because there wasn't very many faith-based organizations in our industry. So anyhow, it all worked out, and I was president of our association a couple of times, and loved it. And more women got into our work eventually, and so. But it was a majority of men. But I felt very comfortable being a woman and doing that and having leadership roles and praying. Yeah. Because I started a volunteer group at our conferences. We'd meet at like 7 a.m. before the conference would start. Anybody who wants to come and pray. Yeah. Fantastic. And it's I don't know if it's still going, but it was significant to those of us that participated. Well,
when you look at your background and all the things God had you doing, every one of those kind of lines up in a silo that when you put together is a meal, and you end up And when I think of Valley Teen Ranch, I think of Connie Clendenon. That's the only thought that comes to mind. And my son-in-law and daughter, Caitlin, and Brandon, they've been involved with Valley Teen Ranch because you provide some amazing services. Tell us a little bit about how they're connected with that.
Well, we started with our group home license, licensed by the state of California. And then we got our foster family agency license, and then we got our adoption license, and then we also started a transitional living home program.
So you have 4 licenses.
Yeah, well, the transitional isn't really a license, but
so
it's
connected.
It fits because the kids, when they age out of the system at the group home,
got a place to go.
Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
here in Fresno.
Yeah.
So anyhow, doing foster care and adoption, we had to recruit foster parents, and the way the system works here is people will come and be certified by us because we're licensed by the state to be foster parents. And then if they're, in addition, if they're interested in adoption, that's another certification that we provide.
Gotcha.
But when the children come to us through social services or probation, they come to us in foster care until the adoption time is ready to be finalized. So Caitlin and Brandon were one of our early on foster parents to do adoption.
Yeah, so FOS Adopt is what I always hear, and I've always worked with foster kids because of being a school administrator and teacher and saw the great need and things, but I had no idea until I saw Brandon and Caitlin and the way they cared and loved for those kids that they ended up fostering, a couple of which they ended up adopting, a couple of which they lost, couldn't adopt because the biological parent came back, and the heartbreak that you go through, that you're willing to risk when you foster a kid because there's no guarantee they get to stay with you.
Right.
And that was so hard because they had twins that they had, and they ended up losing them after having them from birth to 18 months.
Right. I remember well.
I mean, it's a year and a half, and for Mia's papa and Nana, Dot, that was hard, because they are your kids.
Yes.
And very, very tough. But you guys provided a huge amount of relief and services and things to the foster adopt parents and those who wanted to get into the system because it's a complicated system.
Yes.
Very, very hard. But
and slow moving.
Yes, and very slow moving. But your knowledge of that and how all of that works helped get a lot of families, kids in their homes for fostering and for adopting.
Yes.
How many did you end up during the time you were there getting adoptions for?
There was over 250 at the time I left, which was after 30 years. But we didn't start with adoption. So all the amount of children and youth that we had in all of our programs in 30 years when I left was 2,500.
Wow.
So when people ask me, do you have children? I go, yes, 2,500. And they all have different daddies. I'm a busy girl.
I love it. I love it. And you're right. It's interesting. People don't understand a lot of times if you got a good home and, you've got shelter and food and clothes and stuff, you don't realize what a lot of these kids are going through and the difficult times of it. I would see them come to school. For me as a principal, later as a superintendent, it was just, I was amazed they made it to school because of the circumstances they came out of to get there. And they often got themselves up. They got food for themselves somehow, made it to school for a breakfast or a lunch maybe. But it was a marvel that they ended up in school at all. So when they would be late a little bit, I would say, hey, I'm just glad you're here.
Yes.
Do everything you can to get here on time, but I'm glad you're here. Here's a note. Go take it to your teacher.
Yes.
You're here, and I'm glad about that, so I'm excusing that.
Right.
And
fast forward. Our oldest kids from the group home are now 50.
Oh, wow.
Almost my age, huh?
Yeah.
And our foster kids are in their 40s.
Wow.
And our adoptive kids are in their 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
And I hear from tons of them. Face to face, calling, social media.
Yep.
It's so awesome. I was invited to one of our adopted kids' 10th birthday party. Sunday. They
Wow.
happen to live in my neighborhood.
Okay.
And, we have connections
Yeah.
relationally and stuff. So that the relationship is the most important. No matter where we go, what we do, where we're at,
Yep.
relationships are the key.
Yep.
And I have been blessed to have many awesome relationships with kids as well as adults.
Well, you and I both know, and you from the foster adoption side and all of the care on that end, me from education, it is an extended family.
Mm-hmm.
Those kids become, you can't spend a year with a kid and not have some connection to them.
Right.
If you are, you're not alive.
Yeah.
And
then if you're a hugger like we are,
Yes.
that just makes it even better.
Oh, absolutely. We did some studies on the tactile sense and what happens when touch is withdrawn from a kid.
Yeah.
And how they're sicker. They literally get sick,
Insecure.
emotional. Yeah, all of the things that happen. And so appropriate touch for a child, and many of them come from circumstances where the touch was not appropriate.
Exactly.
And then we get them, in education and foster care and all of those kinds of things. You're having to retrain their minds that touch is good,
Yes.
that we care about you, that no matter what you do, we're not going to abandon you.
Right.
We're going to be here for the long haul.
And when they're ready.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't
And
just go up and pick them up and twirl them around
No.
and big hug on the first day.
yeah,
No.
exactly. We did a lot of, a hand on the shoulder and, just
Reach
minor
out my
things,
hand
reach
to
your
shake.
hand and shake hands, and just to start developing that relationship that touch can be good again, and doing that. And I know that I have thousands of kids as well. I did 43 years in education. So there are a lot of connections over the years. But,
Exactly.
the foster care agencies that we worked with in education, it was a hand in glove kind of thing, because you can't get along without them because you are their parent at the time. And
Yes.
parents are the first teacher for a child. So pretty amazing what's going on. So where did the kids go to school that were at Valley Teen Ranch?
We started our own school thanks to Dr. Marilyn Shepard, a dear
Yes.
friend.
Yes. Who's now acting superintendent in Selma.
Exactly.
Yep.
She is. And so when she was the superintendent at Golden Valley Unified, which is out there in Madera Ranchos,
Yeah.
where our
Avenue
group
12.
home is. Yep. And so we started, we built a building for
Okay.
for the classrooms for the school. And they provided the teachers, and it was a part of their alternative education
Sure.
program. And she wrote the program and got it all certified.
Very
We
creative.
together hired the teachers, and one of them is still there all this time
Wow.
later. And so it's just for our boys, and they're taught, regular school curriculum and tests and all that.
Yeah.
And we have all the recreational things that they need for PE and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a very good relationship with Golden Valley.
Yes. Wow, it's fantastic. And, those partnerships have to exist for everybody to win, especially for our kids to win. Folks, amazing. We're at the end of our second segment already. I mean, the time just flies, but we're so glad you've joined us today. We've got Connie Clendenon, former director of Valley Teen Ranch. Also, she plays the trumpet. We want to talk about that. She also has a book called Choices, How to Improve Your Relationships and Life. We're going to hear from her about that as well when we get back. We're just so glad you've joined Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Powell to the People. Write it down. The People on the best talk in town.
Hey, welcome back to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. And we're glad you're with us at KXEX 1550 AM. And remember, you can catch us, Powell to the People, on Saturdays at 4 p.m., Sundays at 6 p.m., where we talk all kinds of things. But if you want to know about something, you send me a note. Would be glad to get information on here so you can learn more about the good things that are taking place right here in Fresno. You can also catch us on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. We're out there, and you can listen at your time, not just on 4 o'clock Saturdays and 6 o'clock on Sundays. Good News with Larry Powell's also on 5 days a week, 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., but you can also hear those good news stories on Spotify as well. Just go to Good News with Larry Powell or Powell to the People, and the podcast is there so you can hear what's going on, some good things taking place in our community. We're so delighted today to have with us Connie Clendenon, one of my good friends, longtime Fresno area resident who started at Northwest. He was recruited out of Michigan, and go blue all the time, and then came here and worked with youth character at Northwest Church, and then ended up getting her master's degree and doing a lot of good things and working with Valley Teen Ranch, where they do a lot of foster adopt, the whole adoption thing. And I'll tell you, you need to have experts to help with that. Connie, it's been fun talking about that. But I know one of the big things that happens with anytime you're working with a nonprofit, and nonprofit means nonprofit, and you're fundraising all the time. You know, so tell me, how did you get money for Valley Teen Ranch? What are some of the things that you do and did, and what can people do to help, with such a worthwhile organization?
Well, I can give you my Fundraising 101 seminar in 6 words. You don't get GET unless you ask.
Oh, I love
it. Any questions?
No, and that's true. That's true.
So getting in front of people, whether it's service clubs, church groups, neighborhood groups,
sharing your
family
story,
groups, sharing the story of kids, and my life and my heart, of course, is how people begin to build a trusting relationship with me, you. The current
and you and I both have done a lot of fundraising.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's part of life. And you're right. I don't mind asking for other people. When I've got a really good project, I'll go and ask for a lot of money. And I go and ask those who have money,
right.
And then I tell those who don't have a lot of money, $25 a month.
Yes.
And that means one less latte a week. And you're changing the life of a child.
Yes.
So I know you've done a lot of those kinds of things.
Exactly. And it's about visibility. And it's about authenticity and transparency so that people can believe in what I'm saying, what we're doing,
what you're doing,
and how their investment of time and energy and money can help us down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep going.
Are there any key events that you did each year that are your standard fundraisers?
Yes, we did a fashion show, women's luncheon. Men were invited to come too, but it was mostly women. And we've had anniversaries every 5 years, our anniversary event. And now they have an event, COVID kind of slowed things down, of course, but at Wolf Lakes. And I think it's in September. I'm not exactly sure.
Gotcha.
I'm not the leader anymore.
No, I hear you.
Let him go and do your thing. If you need me, I'm here, kind of
What's the website for them?
It's valleyteenranch.org.
So valleyteenranch.org. And I'm sure you have a donate button on there if you go to that. So
Or 437-1144. See, I still remember the number.
437-1144.
Yeah, if you want if you want somebody to come and speak to your group, that would be where you call. And Andrea Evans is the current CEO.
Yeah, well, and a lady continues.
Yes,
women.
I know. I hired her before. She worked for us for about 11 years before I left. So we had a plan.
Yeah, you got to transition.
God's plan, but we're the vessels.
And the current county superintendent of schools is Jimmy Ovino, who worked for me and brought him on board 7 years before I left.
See, good plan.
Get some good people on board, and so kids win.
Yes, right.
You've got a book, Choices, How to Improve Your Relationships and Life by Connie Clendenon, MSW. Connie, tell us about the book.
Well, first of all, it's a booklet. It's only 38 pages.
Okay.
And it's kind of like me, short but significant.
I love it. I love it.
And it's things that I learned growing up, that I've learned to implement in work and in life. And I dedicated this to my 5 nieces and nephews and their children and their children's children.
Yeah.
So we're into the 3rd generation now, and they all got the book.
Yeah.
They've all read the book. So, and one of them is pregnant with their first child now, so that's exciting for us. So anyhow, God kind of laid it on my heart through a friend who also is an author. And so it's got 8 chapters in it, and it's kind of like a prescription.
Gotcha.
First year, if you have a cough or a ache or a pain, whatever, you have to decide you're going to go to the doctor.
Right.
Then once you go to the doctor and they tell you what they think is wrong and what they think would help you, it's a prescription. And then you can go to CVS or Walgreens if you want to and get that.
And actually pick it up.
And then you can actually take the pill or whatever it is they said. and see if you can get better.
Sure.
So this is kind of a prescription.
I love that. I love that.
The first part is the how-tos, and then the to-dos.
Gotcha.
So the first chapter is about show up on time.
Right. Absolutely.
And then tell the truth. Do your best. And the fourth one, which is very important, ask for help. Because nobody can do everything as a one-man or one-woman show.
No.
We need a team.
Not going to happen.
So if you can get those things down in your relationship, show
Yes.
up on time, tell the truth, do your best, ask for help. Then we'll go to the how-tos, the to-dos. I always get that mixed up. Anyhow, four of my favorite four-letter words. The first one is O-B-E-Y.
Yep.
Obey.
Yes.
The second one is W-O-R-K. Get in there and work. Do a job.
Yep.
Get her done.
Yep.
And then the third one is L-O-V-E, love. And the fourth one is P-R-A-Y, pray.
Oh.
So if we can integrate all of those things into our daily lives on as consistent basis as possible, knowing full well there's going to be conflicts.
Yes.
There's going to be where I get upset, you get upset, it doesn't work out. We know that. But if we can stay focused on those 8 things, I think our relationships, therefore our life will be better, and our marriages and our families and our kids
Yes.
will be, and our work, whatever it is,
Absolutely.
will be more long-lasting.
Well, and you got some endorsements from some really good people. A good friend of mine and yours, Dan Adams, who was president and general manager of Channel 30.
Yep.
He's now moved on, but boy, let me read just what he said. Choices is a reflection of someone who has devoted her life to shining the light of hope in dark places. In reading it, you will find practical wisdom that can change your life and your relationships. And then our good friend H. Spees also wrote something in here as well from the Leadership Council. He's now working for the mayor and working with homeless. And so he also has a heart for people as well. But some really good things. How can they get the book?
You can get it on Amazon.
Okay.
Or you can go on my website, connie.clendenon@gmail.org.com.
Yep.
I haven't used that one in a while.
Okay.
Or call me and I'll bring it to you. We'll go have lunch. And
I love that. I love that.
$10.
That's good. It's called Choices, How to Improve Your Relationships and Life. And you and I, as leaders in the community, we know that relationships are everything. The Lord has a relationship with us.
Yes.
And when we listen to him, a lot of good things happen. But when you're dealing with hurting people, you have to have a relationship with them. And when you're dealing with healthy people,
Yes.
you have to have a relationship with them. They have to know who you are, what you believe, why you believe it, all of those kinds of things. And it's really a good book, folks. We had a chance to read it. You sent us a copy and, and things, Dot and I. And I love when you have something that is very focused so that folks can get adult learners. And you may know this, but adult learning theory says this: when I learn it, if I don't use it tomorrow, I will never use it.
Yes.
When you read this book, if you start using it immediately, you're going to be in good shape, let me tell you, because everybody needs to work on those relationships and get
and it's
things.
for anyone from the age of 10 to 100.
I love it. I love
So it's open-ended.
it. Well, and my mom's 97, so
There you go.
yeah. So then I've got grandkids, 7, 9, 12, and 14. So
Yes, some of those we shared.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, tell me a little more about what you're doing now. What are the kinds of things you're involved in post Valley Teen Ranch?
Fun.
Yeah.
Freedom.
I know you're traveling.
Yes, a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
And I'm going to Michigan in the summers now because I just decided it's a little too hot and too many fires and bad air here all summer. Where
yeah.
Michigan is perfect then.
Yes.
So I'm doing that. But I just became a board member on the Fresno Madera Youth for Christ board.
Fantastic.
We had our first in-person meeting
Yes.
this week, and I've always been a part of Youth for Christ. I was a credentialed Youth for Christ person.
Right.
Grew up with Youth for Christ because of my dad, and in here too because of you. So my heart is there, and I have time, and it's a worthy cause that I've always supported. So
Yes.
that's one thing.
And their director now is
Jameson White.
Jameson White.
Randy and Tina's son.
Yes, and what a perfect choice for a director.
Yeah,
you know.
he's doing great.
Yeah.
And they have events, the golf tournaments coming up.
Yes, I've played in that golf tournament for as long as they've had it.
Good. Well, I hope
we've
you're
won
doing
it
this one.
several times.
Good.
Yeah, unfortunately, they changed the date on me.
Yeah, Sunnyside changed the date on us, so that was a little bit.
So I've got to be in Colorado. It's the first time I'll miss it in a long time. But we bought our places anyway, and I'm sending a team. So some good things. Well, folks, I can't believe the third segment is done with Connie Clendenon, formerly of Valley Teen Ranch, now of Fun. And we're going to talk a little more about music and things because she's also a musician, and music has a key place in everybody's life, and I think it's really good. You're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Powell to the People. Write it down.
Yep. Good.
The People on the best talk in town.
Well, folks, some things never change, and that's God's love and faithfulness. And we're really glad you've joined us for our last segment today with Connie Clendenon. Connie, I know you don't like to sing your own praises, but I want to sing your praises. I know you were chosen for the G.L. Johnson Ministry Award by CBMC, which is Christian Businessmen's Connection, which they've done some great work in Fresno. And you and I have been involved in ministry at one level or another for almost our entire lives. It's what we do. And it doesn't matter whether you're in a regular job, there's still ministry taking place in that. And congratulations on your receiving that award. That's been a few years ago, but a lot of good things have happened. Real quick, before we get into some other things, you want to talk about your neighbors, but I want to talk about music.
Yes.
You play a trumpet.
Since the 4th grade.
Is
I was
that right?
10, and now I'm 71, so I can still do it. I have to, get a little advance notice if somebody wants me to play taps or Christmas or weddings, whatever they need. And so
that takes a lot of a diaphragm.
Yes.
It
does.
I started with trumpet, interestingly enough.
Yes.
And after about 2 years, I said, I'm going to guitar and piano. I really admire what you've done to be able to hang in there with it. But you're well known for your trumpeting. You're obviously very talented at it. But you have a reputation in town that if Connie's coming, we hope she's bringing her trumpet.
That's right. That's very common. Happy birthday. I just show up with it, and there you go.
Yeah.
Super Bowl parties, birthday parties, whatever.
I love it. Well, music is such an integral part of life, and the Bible is designed with rhythm and sound and music.
And lyrics.
Lyrics. You learn a lot. Your memory has to do with lyrics, with that cadence and things like that. So it's been very valuable for me, I know. And Dot plays the piano as well. And so we love music, absolutely love music. But I love what's going on. So tell me about your neighbors.
Well, you asked me what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm trusting and obeying. That's my main
So you're following
thing.
your own recommendations.
Yeah, trust and obey. There's no other way. And then secondly, love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind and strength.
Yep.
Still doing that.
Good.
And then love your neighbors as yourself.
Yeah.
Well,
we tend to ignore that one sometimes.
Especially when we're working, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
You come home, you drive in, you put the garage door down, you fall asleep, you wake up, you're gone before they wake up.
Exactly.
But I have intentionally and deliberately been able to spend a lot more time with my neighbors. And I have a very diverse street. I'm one of the original homeowners on my street. But next door, I have a family from Yemen that have 5 kids, and the mom and dad and grandma and grandpa are around, and cousins and all that.
Yeah.
And across the street, I have a new family that just moved in. Well, it's not really a family. You know how it is today. And then they bring a woman. They bring their brother. He brings a woman.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
Sometimes there's kids. Sometimes there isn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No.
I took them a box of See's candy to welcome them.
I love it. I love it.
And then there's some older people, retired people like me. Some have lost their parents. Some have lost their spouses.
Sure.
There's been divorces in the family and, life.
Yep.
So I have been kind of the cheerleader, the joy maker,
the glue,
bring cookies, celebrate, play my trumpet. They all know. And back to the trumpet, one of the family from Yemen, their son started playing the trumpet this year. So he, politely knocked on the door, had his horn with him. Miss Connie, can you please help me? I think I want to play this.
Oh, I love
it.
So
then, of course, his little sister wanted to play it. Everybody wants to see if they can make a noise. So it's been quite interesting and quite fulfilling, and the relationships are solid. And the parents trust me with their kids.
Sure.
I talk about it just to make sure they know what I know, so we don't have any questions.
Yeah.
And it's really been fun to get to know my neighbors better and ride bikes. I got a 3-wheeler now.
Oh, man.
Oh yeah, we've graduated.
You and Dot could ride bikes together. Yes, an adult tricycle is the only way to go.
As long as it's flat and it's on the pavement, I'm good. So it's just been a wonderful time. I've been retired now. This is my 4th year. My anniversary is going to be like April the 4th.
Okay, coming up.
So yeah, it's been different, but it's been wonderful. I did not know how tired I was and how emotionally drained I was. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Because you just keep going and just keep building and keep driving and keep going and adding to, and whatever anybody needs, you just say yes. So it's been refreshing. And I'm thankful and blessed and onward and forward. What's next?
Where are some of the places you visited since you retired?
Well, 2 weeks ago, I took a 7-day Mexican cruise to Puerto Vallarta and Mazatlan and Cabo.
Yeah, I love it.
That was pretty fun. Last fall, I took a river cruise from Paris to Normandy.
Wow.
That was the most incredible vacation I have ever taken. There were 12 people from Fresno that went. I went from Michigan. One went from Las Vegas. One went from, they came, they were in different places when we had to go. So that was, and I'm not really a history buff, but that Normandy whole story, we were there for almost 2 days.
Wow.
And I had watched a movie and read some books and learned a little bit more about it. So, and meeting people. There was only 57 guests.
So you got to know folks.
Oh, I knew them before dinner was over. You know how I am.
I can understand that.
It was just a wonderful time to see more of God's creation and to be with new people in new places. And
wow.
We're supposed to go to Australia, but that one got canceled because Australia
a little more tight on
a little bit more about COVID.
Yeah.
And I'll go to Michigan this summer. So that's as far as I've got planned out so far.
All right. I hear you. Well, where are you going to church now?
I'm going to the Well. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
Yes, Big Garden. And so Brad is my pastor, and he's a wonderful friend and pastor, a teaching pastor.
Yeah.
I mean, a year and a half ago, we went through the book of Genesis. It kind of does that. He picks the book and they go through it. And I think there's 48 chapters in Genesis. It took us a year and a half.
Wow.
Because he is very, very specific of teaching us everything.
Very methodical, yes.
And I love it. It's really, really good. Not that I don't like other ways of preaching. But he's wonderful. I have a meeting with him next week.
Well, from linebacker at Fresno State to pastor.
And a bad boy to a good guy.
Yeah, no, he's got a great testimony.
Yeah.
And they're now doing an amazing project out at the Schmidt Camp property.
Yes, humongous.
Yeah. Do you know where that stands right now?
Yes, we're building it, and we're starting another $12 million campaign, phase 2.
Wow.
We did $12 million for the first 3 years, and we reached that, so they did groundbreaking, and they're starting. But now there's $12 million more is needed. So you know, I'm glad I'm not in charge of that.
Oh boy, I know. Yeah, we've done fundraising, but that's a big one.
But I equate what the well is doing with the elders and, you know, Brad and many people.
Yep.
That it's comparable to me to when we wanted to build the football stadium at Fresno State.
Yes.
And the Bulldog Foundation of men's and women's were a part of that, and many farmers and doctors and people in Fresno contribute. But a lot of people are going, "What the heck are you doing?" No, that is too much money. And look at it now.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And then Valley Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
When they moved from Shields out to Madera, and everybody said, "That's too far. How are they going to get there? It's so much money." Blah, blah, blah. But look at it now, and how many lives have been saved and changed. And
my grandkids are out there on a regular basis from all the bike ride falls and everything else.
And all our Teen Ranch boys have, been there too if they've gotten hurt or sickle cell or different things.
You name it.
So those are wonderful examples. Now, granted, they're very good organizations. They're not necessarily intentionally, deliberately faith-based.
Right.
But we are.
Yes.
And God will continue to bless and provide.
No doubt.
As he does.
Yep.
I don't know how this next section is going to come, but it's not, I'm to pray.
Well,
trust and obey.
I get the fundraising deal. People's Church just finished a $20 million deal, and we're starting a new $12 million. So I get it. But, God's people were more faithful during COVID than any time in our history.
Really?
So pretty amazing. I can't believe it, folks. We're down to about 40 seconds left. But I want to remind you, Choices by Connie Clendenon. You can go to Amazon and get a copy.
And I'd be happy to come and speak to their groups, too.
Absolutely. This is a wonderful opportunity. How to improve your relationships in life. And if you want someone who knows how to do that, it's Connie Clendenon, my guest today. Connie, what a great chance to chat and let folks know a little more about you and your post-Valley Teen Ranch period in life.
Powell to the people.
Yeah, thank you. It's so nice to have you with us. Thanks for joining us at Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much.